get a little bit more into the espionage section of the MCU. Marvel's Black Widow movie premieres on July 9th after many, many delays during this pandemic, and it's a movie that I have been incredibly excited to finally watch. Disney shot me out a review code, so I was able to stream the film, and I enjoyed the heck out of this movie. But I also got to take part in a Black Widow press conference, which was attended by Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, Cate, Shortland, the director of the film, and Kevin Feige. And I have to tell you, it was a real treat to be able to hear from all of these creators who put together a very, very enjoyable film. This is a much different tale in the MCU than what we've seen before. There isn't really a huge emphasis on superheroics and larger-than-life superpowers. It's much more spy-centric. Of course, everything is, it's like a Jason Bourne or a James Bond movie, amped up, not quite super serum, but maybe just below that. So some of the fight sequences and stuff that happen in this film, particularly when we see Black Widow going up against Taskmaster, get pretty ferocious, and there's quite a bit of airtime in the battles, and there's some stuff that's like super over the top in terms of characters leaping out of flying craft and then landing on falling debris and continuing to fight. But it is thrilling. What I was surprised about, though, with Black Widow was how emotionally connected it was. It reminded me a lot of The Americans TV show that stars Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys, which is an excellent show if you've never watched The Americans, because we get a setup of a family that Natasha Romanoff understood and knew, but then had ripped out of her control. And we also dig deep into the really horrific backstory of Natasha Romanoff, who is a trained killer. She's been stripped of her humanity, and she's part of this elite assortment of young girls that are turned into trained killers. And we understand why the sort of evil overlord has been putting, named Commander Dreykov, played by an excellent Ray Winstone, who is terrific as a villain, man. He is somebody that you really despise in this movie. So hats off to Mr. Winstone. He's a convincing scumbag. But you get a sense of, why this maniac has been able to utilize all of these girls as these tools for destruction all over the world. And the Black Widow army, all of these female assassins, really play convincingly on screen as well. The action is really slick in this thing. It reminds me a lot of what we saw in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So there's a kineticism, there is just this ferocity. It feels like it just won't stop, it's just relentless. And it's really cool. And to see Taskmaster in action as well, where you see the character kind of employ a lot of familiar beats from Marvel's superhero moves that we've seen in previous MCU films, that was absolutely a highlight. But at the heart of this movie, the reason why it works are all of these terrific character beats that are in there. Rachel Weisz is terrific as Melina. David Harbour almost walks away with the movie because he's so bloody funny as the Red Guardian, who, has this score to settle, this chip on his shoulder about Captain America, and it's just a delight. It's just a pure delight to watch him on screen. But honestly, Scarlett Johansson is terrific as the center of the film, and Florence Pugh, who plays her sorta like sister type character, Yelena Belova, she is fantastic in this movie. And she was kind of this unknown quantity. Obviously, a lot of the marketing has been focused on their dynamic and their relationship. And she's she's a rising star, and she's winning awards, and people are starting to recognize her name out there. But she's a new entry into the MCU like this. And she's got a really big platform in this film, and she totally delivers. She's poking holes and has a real sass and a great sense of humor about everything. The dynamic between Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson is just wonderful. It's great to see them on screen together.
Okay, you got a plan, or shall I just stay duck and cover?
My plan was to drive us away.
Well, your plan sucks.
Honestly, this kind of weird family that David Harbour and Rachel Weisz and Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson kind of concoct together, create together, is just so charming, Like, all of the action stuff is really fun. It's got echoes of things that we've seen in previous MCU. It doesn't get as big or as epic as things we might see in a Thor film or an Avengers massive mega team-up movie or something like that. But it does scale quite large. There is some, super catastrophic elements and moments in this film for sure. But the reason why I enjoyed it so much is I just liked watching all of these performers on screen together. They're terrific in their roles, and they're terrific as a group trying to figure out how to solve the issues and the problems that they're facing within the story here. It's not perfect. It's not my favorite of the MCU films, but I think it fits up snugly with the Captain America flicks that I really, really love. And I think it was something that needed to happen with the Black Widow character. I think Scarlett Johansson has just been such a rock-solid contributor to the MCU all the way along. She's an interesting character from the comics, and Scarlett Johansson's portrayal has been great all the way. And I felt like this movie, although it's not the full sort of celebration of what the role is, it's definitely a step in the right direction. And honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing more MCU prequel movies. I wouldn't mind seeing another Black Widow movie. I don't know if that's even possible or that's going to happen. But, it was great to lose myself in this espionage-tinged, character-rich story. Black Widow is a blast. And if you're a Marvel fan, an MCU fan, I think you're going to have a big smile on your face. I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.